Welcome to What the Flick, Masters of Sex, Season 3, Episode 6, The Two Senses? Is it?
Two cents.
Like
cents.
two entendre.
2 cents.
Like a double, like you smell it.
By
but
2
also
cents
here's
worth, but it's...
which back then was worth so much more than it is now. With inflation.
yeah, it's like 75 cents.
Yeah.
The New York Times does not just share your opinion. The New York Times thinks Episode 1 and 2, or the person recapping it. Because I watched the episode and I wanted to instantly read a recap. And
Okay.
I did. I don't usually do that. But they didn't like it. They don't like this whole season. They think the characters are out of step with the way that they behave. That Bill is suddenly, uncontrollably lustful. And that Virginia is also behaving completely differently. That all of a sudden she wants, a romantic fairy tale. Just things that we were not that were not consistent with how things were set up.
Maybe I have a different approach to what I need to enjoy a television show. Because I'm enjoying this season, and I've said this before, just because of how little I enjoyed last season. And I do see that. I think that Bill with the neighbor kid, or the Dennis, and his desire to, be there and talk to this kid who a second ago he was shouting at, I just think that that's a little too quick and a little strange. But I am so grateful for the fact that they've kind of put together these scenes thematically, even if it's a little heavy-handed sometimes.
It's a tricky balance, but I kind of am buying the relationship between Bill and Dennis because at least Dennis is responding to him and showing some interest in stuff, whereas Bill's actual kid is just like, nah, not interested, don't want,
Turns out if you ignore a kid for the first 7 years of his life, he might not be a great son to you.
Go figure.
Yeah.
I will say this, and if you click somewhere on this screen, I had a chance to talk this week with Sarah Timberman and Michelle Ashford, who are like the two main women behind the show, and they talked about the fact that part of the evolution of the show and part of what makes it constantly changing is Bill Masters constantly changing. Like, he is so not the guy we meet in, say, at Washington University at the beginning of or wherever, at the beginning of this series. He does evolve and he does change and he does become more of a human being and a more, a kind of a rich personality.
He is trying, and then they sow the seeds of he is a scientist who is concerned about finding out answers.
Sure.
And that's a good driver to kind of justify any pursuit that a character might go after.
Yeah. And he read Dale Carnegie,
I love that.
I love that part. I love that part. It was Downton Abbey-esque and not in a good way with the kid sort of seeing the connection that he was having with Dennis. It almost looked at first, I had to watch it twice. It looked like he was looking through a window. Why is he outside his own home? Yeah, that's it. But the characters are so, they are so richly developed, the three main characters. I mean, they are, if there is inconsistency, at least they are fully formed, maybe in ways that I don't always totally buy. But unlike most other shows, we're getting to know these people.
Yeah, and we're jumping ahead years between seasons as well, which I think also maybe...
When did it start? Like early 50s or mid?
I don't know, but it was,
go back and look,
it was 50s.
But I think part of the thing that people have to deal with is that, 3-4 years have passed since the last time we saw them. So yeah, of course they're going to have changed in a way. They just did it all, off camera.
Right. That's true. That's a good point. That's worth considering. How about that great scene? It's just just when what is really wonderful about the show is they build you up to like somebody in the way that you're supposed to like people on TV, like Libby, even though she was and I get it that it's not so much that she objects to football, it's just that she objects to all of a sudden now you're parenting.
You know what?
You didn't check with
Where
me.
you been?
I would have thought that her reaction to football was wrong. And for a second when I saw it, I was like, no one really reacts this strongly to seeing their kid limp.
Right.
But I was at the beach yesterday, and this kid was kind of almost walking toward the water, which was very calm. And this mother kept yelling, come back, you don't know how to swim. And I was like, oh my God, that happens to people when they have kids.
Mollycoddling. Mollycoddling.
Oh, and I feel like they asked each other, what do they call it when you're kind of babying your kid? What was the word back then? And someone looked it up and saw mollycoddling, and then they said, oh, we need to say that 50 times.
That's a good word. I like mollycoddling.
Had you ever heard it before?
Yeah.
I'd never heard it in my life. I like the idea that they clearly didn't, but I like the idea that they were like, it doesn't matter what they said back then. let's make up a word and presume.
I think mollycoddling now is just when you're at a rave and have done too much molly and you cuddle up in the corner and start stroking your own face.
I liked it though. They did beat it to death. I mean, it's like a word you never heard before. Bam, 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 bam.
I love
bam.
it. I absolutely love it.
But so she loses it about football because the kid has a limp, and then.
Well, she's also had the other mom like kind of drill her what being the football mom entails.
I got it. I just mean, but it was so she. I liked that scene, and again, I think there's just huge resentment, and that other mom had resentment too, of like all of a sudden Bill has decided this is how he's going to parent. He didn't check with her, signed him up for football, does it all on his own when she's been responsible for 99.8%.
And I love that the first thing she does after that is to go take a bath.
Right. So that's right. That's right. She leaves football, and then she, but then she says that horrible thing to the husband.
Yes.
Oh,
Right. Just the worst thing, but then has that moment of at least humanity when she's like,
yeah.
oh, why did I do that? It
goes by and
I've been pushed and pushed and pushed, and I did something terrible.
I really liked the whole Libby arc this episode. I love how she is going to just squat in this apartment paid for either by her or by the woman who's now had a traumatic stroke or whatever the word is that they used to describe it. Catastrophic stroke. And so she's committed to it, and she's kind of going down this road of, then she meets the handyman, and they talk about how she's divorced and he's divorced, and she gets close to this like crazy thing she wants to do.
Yeah, it's a love nest.
And then it all just gets blown up.
Or does it? Because
Or does it,
who is
but-
she going to love nest there with?
Yeah.
I mean, is it going to be the handyman, or is it going to be Paul? Is that his name?
I think Paul, yeah. I think Paul is going to to get mollycoddled next week.
I think Polly is going to get the shit mollycoddle out of it. Yeah.
They both need it.
Yeah.
Central theme, what was it? Telling each other things, really?
Well, I mean, let's not forget we have our fictional football player and fictional movie star.
I miss the days when I would turn to Alonso at the beginning of every review and he would explain what the show explain the things I missed, what the show was actually about. We're going to get back to that.
I like that fictional movie star was in real movies. Like Penelope with Natalie Wood, Patch of Blue, Shelley Winters, real movies.
Right, so it made me think, how do I not know Isabel Ricci? So I looked her up. I thought,
Is she the TCM star of the month?
yeah, and then I was going to look up the football player. I thought maybe he was real too. And then, of course, if she's not, he's not. Right, but they did reference. It's nice. That's good historical fiction. It embeds you.
Like if
nicely.
we're gonna have the fake kids, we're gonna have a few fake clients too. Why not? You know?
Right, and they also mention like, my friend Sandra Dee.
Yes.
You know, she read the book, loves it. Yeah.
So clearly their whole relationship was about, the idea of the image versus reality, which is the same thing with with Virginia's mom trying to make Tessa do the ridiculous bouffant hairdo and stuff.
Right, we get that nice. You're beautiful. You look like you.
Yes.
That was a nice.
Which then
portrayal.
unfortunately gets undone by the whole, mom's been stepping. She assumes with Bill, but it's actually been with Josh Charles.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't show her the article, and so that was kind of an ending,
It was. You hope that we'll revisit it. I suspect. I hope that they'll have another chance at a moment.
That felt so real, though.
It
That
did.
moment where it's just like, that is a real thing the kids do. They finally feel like it's the time for the parents to pay attention to them, and just something
Gets in the way.
happens, it's in the way, and the moment's ruined. And it's
right.
crazy, and this show is
Because
about...
no one ruined it, right? It just got ruined.
It just got ruined.
Life
And that's
ruined it.
and that's kind of the issues that they
She
go
waited
after.
up till midnight just to.
Oh, it
casually-
kills me. And there was a lot of this in this episode that just I realized that I've really come to care about these characters because every time they're in a potentially awkward situation, I wanted to fast forward through it.
No, that's a good sign.
Because I'm like,
right.
oh, I just don't want to see anything bad happen
just
to them.
when Bill finally finds somebody who's interested in his goddamn football card collection, of course, it's the guy who beat up my kid, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
It'll do. I kept waiting for more of a payoff with the scene between Ginny and her mother, where where she's saying like, I could never get your approval, and the mother says like, that's how you choose to remember it or something, and I'm thinking like, is there something traumatic that Ginny doesn't remember or refuses to remember or something? Like, I thought there was going to be some revelation following there, and then there wasn't.
I thought, to me, the revelation was, like, I keep telling you the truth, how come you're not hearing it? I think that's a very real feeling relationship. I mean, it sometimes feels like you're getting hit over the head when someone says, all I want was your approval, mother.
Yeah.
But I think they made it kind of bear out in a realistic way where it's like, those conversations don't usually happen. They can happen, but when they finally do, they don't always pay off. It's just like we're talking to kind of, we hit that wall where, like, my philosophy on my daughter is that I am the only one that tells her the truth.
Right.
And my daughter's philosophy on me is that truth is wrong, and she resents me for it. But Virginia's attitude toward her mother is like, you have such a warped worldview that I'm living my life to be the counterpoint to that.
Right,
because
I'm never going to please you, and I don't like what you stand for.
Exactly. The only thing I can do is blaze my own trail and approve of it.
There was just something in the way that conversation was written where I thought it was building to, like, a thing that was going to be revealed.
Did they leave? Did they officially leave?
I think
They're
they did. That's why Tessa was up, I think, because the parents had finally skedaddled.
And she knows about Bill, right? That was clear, right?
Oh, yeah. She figured it out last week,
So
and
Virginia,
that's why...
I got slightly confused because then Virginia was... so when Bill said, well, I certainly didn't tell her. So Virginia was lying to Bill about whether her parents knew for sure.
No. Here's what happened. I mean, if you'll recall, Tessa figured it out for the shaving lotion. Yeah. She put the bow tie in the laundry so the mother-in-law would, Jenny's mother would find it. And so Jenny's mother put the pieces together. Bill and Virginia don't know how exactly she did it.
That's what I mean. So Virginia doesn't exactly know how yet.
But she knows that she knows.
She knows that she knows. All right. Yeah.
I didn't realize her name is Mary Virginia, which is two versions of the Virgin Mary's name.
That's right.
That's loaded.
Yeah, good for her.
What do we think about the ape at the end? What was that?
I like that.
So I think that comes back to the discussion about whether we're more evolved dogs.
Oh, that's true.
And so you have what is really just this animal instinct.
Yeah.
And you see the eyes, and that's also a real thing. Have you heard a handsome gorilla? We did a story on Pop Trigger, which you should watch.
Oh, yes, in Japan, right?
Oh, there's this one gorilla that's just handsome, and you can see it looks in its eyes like it's just like kind of looking at you.
It's a movie star gorilla.
Oh, it's amazing, and that's kind of what I mean. There was a man in a gorilla suit there, ostensibly, but
Do you think that was a fake gorilla?
I'm sure that was a gorilla.
Oh God, I hope so.
You didn't have to do
it felt real.
There's a zoo and
but it gave eyes to us. Well, that's true. I don't.
Gorillas. I mean, when's the last time you went to see a gorilla exhibit?
It's been a while.
The gorillas weren't out. The chimpanzees were there, and I watched one punch another in the face.
Yeah, they're just like us. I mean, they're like so wildly
like
human.
celebrities. They're just like us.
Yeah.
Oh, the chimpanzees were amazing. He just looked at the other one.
They look
and
at
got
you
up and punched.
Really? Any retaliation or just?
It was just like what? And they kind of like and they ran away, but that was it.
But chimpanzees are dicks. Everybody knows that.
That's true.
I stole this from the New York Times, but I think it's great. Like I like that moment with Bill, and I'm not sure I could have articulated, but like that Bill's comfortable with the task of trying to get gorillas to mate because like he is just as likely to communicate successfully with a gorilla as he clearly is with a human. Like he doesn't make human connections. So the idea that this I can handle. This is just going to be science.
Right.
Just science.
Yeah. There's
the
no
gorilla is not. The other gorilla is not going to be like, I want a courtship. I want a story. What's our story?
Yeah.
Right. And that's been clearly super frustrating to Bill. He doesn't even know how to. He can't. His seduction attempts are. Whatever. I don't know that they're boneheaded, but they're too late. They're not working on Virginia now.
Yeah, I'm glad they're not working. Go after Josh Charles.
Bill should go after Josh
No,
Charles?
Virginia, get it. When that happened, I was like, those are two actors that whenever I see them in something, I'm very happy.
Yeah, but Josh Charles here, she wouldn't, this guy is, the ooze is coming off.
It's a little oily, yeah.
No, I don't read it. Maybe I'm just totally projecting Knox Overstreet onto him.
You're like, I love Josh Charles.
Like, yeah, we got the host from Sports Night and Knox Overstreet from Dead Poets Society happening at the same time.
There's a nice bit of Betty in this episode, nice bit of Lester in this episode.
Lester's great.
I like it when they give the second bananas a little something.
And a little, I won't give it away in case nobody watched the trailer, but we get Sarah Silverman.
I saw that.
Back good.
So they are together, and that's good. And
Yay.
Very happy
Nice.
about that.
So we'll talk about that when we're back next week.